Well, we're looking forward to this match with UCLA. We talked about at the beginning of the year that this was a place we'd like to be at come May, playing in the NCAA championships. And I think clearly that's a goal that a lot of teams have, and it's neat to be one of the last four still standing and having a chance to play in a surrounding that we're pretty familiar with. Playing a team that we had a chance to play against here in January. I think both teams have changed a little bit since then. We didn't have our full lineup on the floor, and neither did UCLA. I think now we both do. So, I think that's what's going to make it exciting. Clearly this is UCLA's getting back into the mix with John, and I'm sure they're excited about it. But it should be a fun match. And I just hope both teams come out and just play relaxed and play good volleyball, and we'll see what happens.
Coach Vinny Lopes here from Off the Block. I know you talked a little bit about the lineup changing, but what other aspects of volleyball do you feel that you guys have improved upon since January when you last played UCLA?
Vinny, I think we always talk about volleyball in January's not real pretty because, you're coming off a break and you're just trying to kind of find your rhythm and get some things going. I think what we found is our ability to kind of deal with adversity as much as anything. I think we've been pretty statistically good over time. Our offense has been pretty good. Our serving numbers have been pretty good. But as in the match last night where, we had a big lead early, we were seemingly in control, and then George Mason kind of rallies and plays well and takes the first game. And, I think at that point in time we could have gone either direction. And through what we've been through this season, I think the guys now understand that, hey, let's put that one to bed, move on, keep things in front of you, and just keep playing. And so I think that's the biggest thing is just I believe that our mentality has developed and grown, and our confidence in one another has grown. I don't think you win 20 or 21 in a row without having some confidence in the guy next to you and trusting him. And so I believe that's the biggest thing that happened, and that kind of happened after that night in Columbus when Ball State beat us. And again, we were ahead early, we were in control, and then it kind of went through our fingers. And I think at that point in time we kind of said, we've got to fix that, and I think we've done a good job of that.
And Coach, talking about UCLA, they run the 6-2 offense, something we don't see in men's volleyball. How do you prepare for that? Do you call your old coach Mick Haley in the women's game and ask how he prepares for a 6-2? How do you get ready for that?
No, I don't call Mick. I'm not sure Mick would take my phone call. I don't think it changes anything dramatically. You're still going to see three hitters in the front row. We know who they are. I think that's just John's way of getting his best six guys on the court. It's a little different fashion, but Vinny, it's not rocket science. We're not doing brain surgery here. It's volleyball. So we trust that these guys can figure it out, and it's about communication. It's about just continuing to identify what's going on and who the important guys are. And every team has important guys, and we know who their important guys are. So if we stay focused on them, we'll be fine.
Mick wouldn't give you advice on how to beat UCLA?
Well, he probably would, but it might not be legal.
Coach, you had mentioned earlier about having been here before. Do you feel like you've got a little bit of a home court advantage because you guys are here a lot more often than any of the other teams that are playing here this weekend?
Well, I would like to hope so. That happened 5 years ago when we were fortunate enough to get through the semifinals and beat Penn State, and then the crowd kind of became pro-Ohio State because of maybe the Big Ten connection, or maybe they just have adopted us as their second son since we are here so often. But, I would like to think that, we're going to have a pretty favorable crowd. But I'm sure that there'll be some people rooting for UCLA. So, hopefully it just our play will spur some people on to help support us a little bit.
Miles, you and Christian, you want to follow up on that? Like the comfort factor, not only playing here so often, but also now, you have one more match in this tournament over UCLA, and how does that shaking out and how the team feels over the last couple of days?
Aside from St. John, I think this is my second favorite gym to play in. So coming back here, it's always pretty comfortable and gives me personally, but I know our team, a pretty big confidence booster playing here. So.
Playing the play match, Christian, was that something you guys are saying, hey, this is an advantage because we've got the jitters out?
Yeah, I mean, I think first finding out that we had to play in the play match was a little frustrating at first, but we kind of were just like, we have to either get mad about it or kind of just use it to our advantage. And so we went into the game thinking like, hey, this can only help us really get used to the sport court, get used to the arena again, and I think in the end it is going to turn out in our favor.
Just to follow up on that, Miles and Christian, do you guys feel that you were slighted not being the number 2 seed and having a bye at the semifinals, or is it one of those things where you didn't care and let's just go out and play volleyball?
I mean, honestly, I wasn't too surprised. Like, I heard it and was like, okay, well, let's go play and win. And so that's where we are now.
Yeah, I mean,
It wasn't too big of a
we
deal.
have full trust in everybody who made the decision. But it was kind of disappointing, but there's a reason for everything, kind of thing.
Miles, I want to ask you in particular because you've had an opportunity this season to get a lot of balls set your way, especially after a match like last night where it's set to you 40 times. How is your shoulder feeling after a match like that, and how do you just kind of prepare and rehab for the next match?
Feels good. My shoulder feels fine. My tricep was bugging me last weekend, but I've got work done on it, building up to the tournament. So it's feeling pretty good today. I'm not too worried about it. I mean, other than ice and stretching.
And you just talking about your game as a whole. What do you feel that you've been able to make the biggest step in this season as a player on the court?
Well, this is my first year playing right side. Personally, I think just hitting D-ball, that's been my biggest comfort zone. But other than that, just swinging and then progressively getting to the point where I'm very comfortable blocking on the right has been, it's been fun for me to learn. So it's always different, but it's fun.
Coach, speaking of the 40 swings, both for Miles and for Nick last night, from your perspective, do you like that going to the hot hands, or would you rather see the ball spread around a little bit more evenly?
I think you just have to kind of take it as it comes. When there are opportunities to keep the spread a little more even, that's great. When you've got guys that are really on a hot streak, we tend to say, hey, get those guys the ball if they're really having some success. So, it kind of goes both ways. I think it just depends on the situation. But, clearly the best way is to have true balance across the court. I think the big thing is we'd like to get our middles a few more swings, and that's kind of dependent on our quality of our passing. So if we can get the quality of the passing up a bit, we'd like to get Blake or Matt or Driss a little more involved in the offense. I think that will take some pressure off of Nick and Miles and Christian. But if we don't, then they know they've got to be able to deal with 2 blockers, and they've done a great job all year long. So you just kind of take it as it comes.
Christian, can you take us back maybe 2 years ago? You were at the University of Pacific. That program disbanded. Can you just talk about what that time in your life was like, kind of going through that season playing on a team that you would know wouldn't be there at the end of the year, and how you wound up at Ohio State?
Yeah, it was obviously it's not something that you want to. I think it was the 4th day of school that we went into the first semester, and they called us in and pretty much told us that it wasn't going to be a team anymore, and it's obviously something that none of us expected. And I think the hardest part about it was the whole year going through preseason and going through the season, that this was going to be the last time that we did play together, and this was going to be the last time that we got to hang out with our friends at the school and everything. So that was hard. I remember the second time going through the whole recruiting process. First time, let me tell you, it's really fun talking to coaches and getting letters and everything, but the second time I know I put it off for like a month because I just didn't even want to think about it, honestly. But I knew, going into that school, I had one mission, and that was to win a national championship. And I knew that whatever team I'd be lucky to play on, that was going to be my same mission. I was going to win a national championship, and it's always been a dream to make this tournament. So now that I'm actually here, it's kind of surreal. But at the time, it was hard. But now looking back at it, I couldn't have made a better switch.
Yeah. And just follow up on that, I know this is kind of a fun conversation among volleyball fans on Twitter. How do you think that Pacific team, had they stayed, would have done this season with kind of just all the players and seeing what they've done throughout their career?
I think looking back at Tommy Carmody being the #1 blocker in the nation again, and seeing Josh setting for Tommy, and having a few other players, I think it would have been an exciting season for us for sure. Pacific was never really seen as a tough competitor. we were always kind of the underdog, which made it more fun for us because we kind of just went into games thinking, like, what do we like actually have to lose? We pretty much have nothing to lose. But I think at this, if we were still a team today, we would have been good. I don't know how good we would have been. I mean, BYU, UCLA, everybody in that conference is a good team, just like this conference. So it's kind of hard to say, but I think we would have been much better than how we were my freshman or sophomore year.
Yeah. And Coach, just ask you, what was it about Christian that made you want to recruit him, go after him when you knew that he become kind of a free agent of sorts with the team disbanding?
Well, I think it was as much Christian's interest in us as it was an interest in Christian. We started kind of talking with Marco first and Peter first. Marco filled a need that we had as a backup setter. And then we kind of began to get some other inquiries from some of the other guys. And we had known about Christian when he was coming out of high school. He might have gotten one of my letters and thrown it away really early on in the process. I don't know. We knew that we were getting good people and good volleyball players. And for me, the biggest thing was that we were providing those young men an opportunity to finish a volleyball career. And we kind of wanted to open door policy, and whoever wanted to come in, I was willing to kind of give them an opportunity because I knew they were going to add to our program, but I also knew that because of what they had been through, an opportunity to finish a volleyball career was going to be, I think, a pretty good thing that was also going to help our culture, and it clearly has. They've all been great young men in our program and done some wonderful things, and we're very appreciative that they finished out their career with the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Miles, you look at Ohio State really the last 3 years or so, and can you just talk about the progression of this program as a whole and kind of going through a little bit of a losing season and just slowly kind of the program starting to rise?
Yeah, the first year was definitely rough, having a losing record, but I think we quickly grouped together and moved on from that season. Last year was better. It wasn't the same caliber as this year, but I mean it was definitely better than my first year. This year has just been different from those previous 2 years. I've never seen the group of guys as tight-knit as we are and having full trust in one another. So it's been a pretty awesome year, pretty special, and trying to just soak up every moment of this tournament and being on this team. And then hopefully we can continue this camaraderie into next year as well.
And Coach, I want to ask you, the last time you were here, 2011, the MIVA had only won one national championship. Now they've won 3 of the last 5. How do you feel the national perception of your conference has changed since you were last year at Penn State?
I believe it's gotten better. I believe that the folks outside of the Midwest now understand that there's good volleyball being played in all parts of the country. I think there's always going to be some regional biases where maybe we don't have the strongest league top to bottom, but our top 5 or 6 can play with anybody on any given night and clearly win championships. So I think from a standpoint of just where the game has gone, it's in a much better place than it was 10 to 15 to 20 years ago when one league or one school was dominating volleyball. I think that's what encourages schools like Erskine and the Conference Carolinas and the University of Charleston to say, hey, we can get into this picture and we can have some success if we do it the right way, if we support it, if we get the right coaching staff and those sorts of things, that you have a school like Loyola that can put themselves on a national map. 2 national championships, and the only other national championship banner in their gym is from 1942 basketball that nobody knows about. So they're clearly relevant, and I think other people want to be relevant as well. So I think that's a great thing for the sport of men's volleyball right now.
That kind of ties into a question that I asked both Alan and John earlier about the broader picture state of the men's game. How much do you think it would help the men's program to have a major conference like the Big Ten, Pac-12, advocating for a men's volleyball league like they have with most other sports?
I think it'd be wonderful. Why it hasn't happened, I can't really tell you, but You know, as I was walking the streets of State College with Kyle today, we talked about back in the dark ages when I was playing, University of Wisconsin had a men's volleyball team. Indiana University had a men's volleyball team, varsity status at that point in time. You know, where would things be if those two folks had stayed in it? And maybe we'd gotten a couple more to be involved. It makes perfect sense for me for some of those universities that they maybe aren't the Ohio States of the world in terms of their football program or something like that to add some of those types of sports. I know the current head coach at the University of Michigan, after we won the national championship in 2011, he had spoken to Sean Byron, my assistant, and his AD was like, well, how the hell is Ohio State winning a men's volleyball championship and why can't we? Well, you can if you just start a team. I mean, if you want to put a team up there, Ann Arbor, you're going to get some people to go there and play. You just have to be brave enough to do it. Now, I don't think that guy's still working there, but that's what needs to happen. Somebody just has to step up and get the ball rolling and say, you know, we're going to spend some of our additional resources on helping other athletes have a college experience rather than just giving our current athletes more money to do whatever they want to do with. That's my personal opinion, and I wish more teams would do that or more sports would do that. You know, that's why I think it's so neat that schools like UCLA and Ohio State and Penn State, who have some of the largest athletic departments in the country, are supporting sports like ours and giving these athletes a chance to achieve a national championship and giving them a great college experience.
Miles, one or two lighthearted questions before we wrap on up here. Saw you're walking with Starbucks. What was your drink of choice today?
It was pretty not normal. I got a chai for some reason. I had too much coffee this morning, so I had to kind of mix it up.
All right, and then I don't know if you guys are done with classes this semester, if you're wrapping up, but what was your favorite class for this semester? And that's for both you guys.
I took a sustainable economy class this semester, and I thought that was probably my favorite class. And yeah, we're all done with classes too.
I think my favorite class was probably structural analysis, just because I'm civil engineering, so I can actually see it. It's like tangible, other than dynamics and stuff where I have to pretend like it makes sense in my head.
Any other questions? Miles, Christian, Coach, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.